This podcast is brought to you by Bernie's Tap and Grill. It's family owned and operated since 1954. Located across from Wrigley Field on Clark and Waveland. My dad hit a few home runs on the Waveland Avenue, and Bernie's was my dad's favorite place to go. It's got delicious food, 4 full-service bars, an awesome beer garden, a sidewalk patio cafe, and a cool upstairs area. It's the place I've always met my friends at before and after games. Go on by and tell Linda Dillman Jeff Santos sent you. Bernie's Tap and Grill, where you go when you go to Wrigley.
Sit back and relax. It's time for peanuts, popcorn, and Cracker Jacks.
Hey, how's it going? I'm your host, Jeff Santo. I'm here with my wife, Christy.
Hello, hello.
We've got another great show for you. Our special guest grew up in a famous Hollywood family and chose baseball over the bright lights of Tinseltown. And our Cracker Jack surprise call is going to be Joey Banks.
And you two have a lot in common, being growing up in Wrigley Field in the shadow of your Hall of Fame baseball-playing fathers.
You got that right. Can't wait to call him. I hope he picks up. Before we get into that, we've been talking about how much the game of baseball has changed since my dad's days and even the 70s and 80s. But the one thing we didn't really discuss was how they televise baseball has not changed.
No, it hasn't.
I mean, you got basically the same camera setups, center field, third base, first base, on the field, upper deck, and behind home plate. And sometimes you might have a roving guy in the field for ESPN games and the postseason, but it's basically that. And I feel that we have to change it up now because the game's moving faster with the new rules. And TV, they lost a lot of viewership, and there's a big problem going on there with Major League Baseball and the rights and all that. It's time for MLB to take control of it all. And I'm talking creatively. You know, I want to write a letter to Theo Epstein because Theo's a creative guy. And, you know, we've been talking about this, babe. We need like a Friday Night Lights baseball game where they shoot it differently. It's like a movie. It's like make-believe meets reality, where you film the teams coming in. It's a big production. You mic everybody, and the cameras now are out in droves, where you got cameras on each individual player. The umpires have cameras that are all the different angles there. You got roving guys on each side of the foul lines, where really we can almost watch it like a movie, and you almost need like
Jeff is for hire everywhere. We're on a writer's strike right now.
Yeah.
Jeff is for hire.
There you go. But it's time now. It really is, where you can actually do something with HBO, where there's a Friday night game. People might pay a little extra, so if there's some cuss words in there, eventually, I've done documentaries. I know once the camera's on someone for a long time, they will act better. They will act accordingly. They will be more aware. You know, when ESPN puts a mic on different players like Manny Machado, it's almost kind of like they know they're on and they're playing for the folks, but how would you like to watch and hear the sounds of baseball up close and personal and the visuals kind of like NFL films, right?
Oh, yeah.
God, and imagine the players, like what they're really saying out there. You really find out the different characters, and eventually they'd stop cussing because they know they know they got a hot mic, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You got certain things that they might play in or play out, but just imagine that Friday night game where it's an event that families watch it at home. They might pay a little extra. And speaking of paying a little extra, what's going on with MLB rights right now is depressing, right?
These big corporate conglomerates, I mean, just trying to gobble up all the rights.
Well, Sinclair, like they're having a fight with MLB right now, and I'm on Manfred's side with this, man. You know, they're trying to muscle him, and it's almost kind of like they're coming in with this regional sports that is actually cable TV is on the decline, and streaming is the future. We know that. We're on strike with streaming, right?
Right.
But everyone wants the big bucks. These corporate guys, they want the big bucks, and they're not giving it to the talent, as far as like on the Hollywood side for writers, directors, and actors, where, you know, you got to share the wealth or else you're not going to have quality product. And I feel the same thing about baseball. It's like, give us a quality product on TV. Change it up, man. You know, it's almost cooler watching it back in the 60s and 70s because the TV was kind of grainy and you felt the atmosphere. But now You can't go that way anymore, man. You got to have close-ups. You got to follow these guys from getting out of their cars into the locker room, getting on the field. Make it a production, man.
Make it feel like a movie.
Right? Get Ron Shelton, man. I'll bring Ron Shelton on with me. We'll go out there. We'll design this thing, and really bring the game to another height. We need it, man. And MLB, I'm with MLB, man. They should own and operate their product. Don't let these corporate people come in and tell them what to do and just put out the baseball games the way it is, and they're collecting all the profits. That's what streaming is right now. Everyone wants to. These corporate guys want to own all these streaming rights and just make money.
And it's America's pastime. And if Americans can't watch the game, if they have to pay out an enormous amount of money just to do it, I mean, that's not fair.
Yeah, these cable packages aren't worth it. They're too expensive. We lost those cable packages long ago. Mm-hmm. And MLB, man, I mean, they're taking over some of these rights now. I heard that, the Padres, I just read an article that MLB had to come in and rescue the Padres package, the regional package. I feel that MLB, when it comes to streaming, they're holding on to those rights because that's the future. And it should be controlled by MLB. The production should be MLB. Just like the studios, man. They're not going to have some outside people come in and run how they're going to write different movies.
Oh, could you imagine the studios giving over creative control to some company whose only goal is profit?
That's it, profit. And so Sinclair, back off. MLB, stay on course, man. And Theo, let's get a new creative team in there to really design these Friday Night Lights games. I mean, I try one game a week and then go from there, and maybe then you could use it on more games. But I think that's the way of the future for people to get more involved in baseball on TV because they lost a lot of viewership. And now with the changing of the rules, I feel like more fans are watching on TV. But we need something more. Hey, if you got any questions, please don't hesitate to write us at jeff.ppcpodcast@gmail.com. And please subscribe now because we got some exclusive content that is inside baseball stuff that you don't want to miss. And it's only $5 to subscribe.
On Apple.
And we also got the Patreon.
And Patreon, you get early access and exclusive content, and that's $6. Or you can get the cool crackerjack, bundle at $10.
We need all the support possible out there. So please help us out if you're listening to us. And
support us on the writer's strike.
Yes, please. And support the small business person. These behemoths out there that are taking all the profits and they don't care about the quality, screw them.
Yeah.
So, here's our special guest. I hope you enjoy. Gino's East of Chicago, doing deep dish in Chicago since 1966. Now has an LA location. Same great recipes, same great ingredients. That's no joke. Their deep dish tastes exactly the same as it does in Chicago. It's my favorite. I love the deep dish. And Gino's East is where I go when I want to taste from home. Named Best Pizza in LA by LA Times readers, and I certainly agree. Plus, there's a full menu of Italian favorites, Chicago Tavern-style pizza, and the Italian beef sandwich. Dine in for great food straight from the oven, or do carryout or delivery. For great pizza and great atmosphere, go to 12924 Riverside Drive in Sherman Oaks, near the corner of Riverside and Coldwater Canyon, just off the 101 and Coldwater Canyon exit. Or order online. Go to genoseast.com. My guest today is a Hollywood anomaly. Born into showbiz royalty in the 1950s, this 6'2", golden-hair Earl Flynn-looking leading man decided he wanted to play baseball instead of following the family footsteps. Paving his own path, he was the number 1 draft pick for the Chicago Cubs in 1970. It took him only 2 years before he got the call to Wrigley Field to join my dad in the 1972 Chicago Cubs squad. Pete LaCock, great to have you here with me today.
Thanks, Jeff. It's always nice to talk to you. And anybody that has the last name of Santos is a great person.
Thank you, man. Hey, before we get into your story and your Hollywood bloodline, I have to ask, did you ever want to become an actor?
I never really did. My dad was always gone. He just never was around. And he wasn't a role model of the sorts. But You know, he was my dad, and you know, I saw some of the things that show business did to him, and I didn't know if I wanted that or not. Plus, I was an athlete. I wanted to play pro football, but thank God I didn't.
Wow, man. So did you play all three sports?
No, I only played. My high school was you're only allowed to play two sports, and I played football and baseball. And I didn't start playing baseball until I was in high school. So, and the only reason I played baseball was because my offensive line coach was the baseball coach, Ray O'Connor. I mean, we had guys. You know, we had great players: Robin Yount, Rick Dempsey, Rick Arbach, Kevin Kennedy, Guy Hansen, Larry Durker, Rick Durker, all went to Taft High School. So it was a baseball school. So. Shoot, I didn't even letter in varsity until I was a senior in baseball.
Oh my God, man! I didn't know you guys had that powerhouse of a team. And is that in Woodland Hills?
Woodland Hills, California. Yep.
Did you have a lot of kids in that school too that had parents in showbiz?
Not really. The school there were over 6,000 kids in the school, and we didn't have a black kid. It was a completely Jewish neighborhood, and you know, it was a fun place to grow up. You know, everyone, you know, had a great attitude, it seemed like.
Wow, man. And so you didn't start playing baseball until high school. How were you so good at it, man? I mean, you know, within 4 years, you're the number one pick.
God was good. You know, I don't know. I enjoyed the hard work. I enjoyed practicing. I enjoyed hitting, and you know, I was good at it. You know, I mean, anything I did, tennis, golf, you know, anything to hit a ball, I seemed to do all right.
Wow, man. Now, do you have a brother, an older brother, or a younger brother?
I did have a younger brother. He died last year of COVID.
Oh man, I'm so sorry to hear about that, man. I'm sorry, man.
It is by far the worst thing that ever happened to me. My brother and I were very close. You know, he lived in Hawaii. He was one of the best surfers in the world. He had 8 children, 7 grandchildren, and he had a little niche. I don't know if you know about Kauai. He lived right on Tunnels Beach. And,
wow! Yeah.
If he wasn't surfing, he was he wasn't happy. He loved surfing, and all his kids right now, all his kids still surf, except one. His oldest son broke his neck in an accident. He was jumping out of a tree into a canal and hit a sandbar and broke his neck.
Oh wow! Oh man!
Yeah.
Well, did you surf too then?
Oh, I surfed all my life. Yeah.
Oh, you did?
I love surfing. Yeah.
Wow, man. All your life. So when did your brother play ball too, baseball?
No, he just surfed. He
surfed.
tried playing football. Yeah, he tried playing football, but he seemed to always get hurt, and he didn't have the mentality. I had the mentality to play football. But he was a free spirit who loved life and was one of the sweetest guys you ever wanted to meet. Big guy, 6'5", goofy foot surfer, and everybody knew him in Kauai because he had the same red board. And you could tell, first of all, his goofy foot, and then he had this big red board, and he's 6'5", and he was pretty noticeable out there on the surf.
Did you guys start surfing in Malibu? Is that where you guys we surf?
Yeah. Well, we had a house in Malibu, so and we had a house on County Line Beach too. Stair steps in that whole area there. Good surfing.
Oh, beautiful, man. That's awesome. God, what a childhood, huh? I mean, growing up,
I
had so much to do.
I had a great childhood. I really did. And, you know, even besides my dad working all the time and him not being home, my brother and I, we kept each other busy.
Yeah, I bet, man. I bet. So when the summer came around and your brother's surfing, you're playing baseball, basically.
Yeah, well, yeah,
right?
I remember. I was playing baseball, and I wasn't happy about it either. I wanted to be out in the water, you know. So, I mean, I remember Coach O'Connor. He says, "I want you to play baseball." I said, "Hey, baseball's during the summer. I surf during the summer. You're gonna play some baseball." So, thank God. And he was a guy. He was a coach that did fundamentals, bunt plays, cutoffs, relays, practice. Let's hit. No, not until we do this. Let's hit. Not until we do that. So, Ray O'Connor. When Robin was inducted in the Hall of Fame, the first thing he mentioned was Ray O'Connor and how he was a great part of his life. So
that's great to have a coach like that, man. You know what I mean? That really sets you on the right course.
He did set me on the right course. You didn't like him, but he set you on the right course.
But wasn't that kind of how it went though with those coaches back then? You know?
Oh yeah, yeah. Everyone was tough. I mean,
everyone was tough. Yeah. And so when you were a senior, you're playing with all these guys, and then did you know you were going to, your senior year, that you were going to be possibly a first-round draft pick?
I got to tell you the story. I didn't know. I really didn't. There were so many scouts at the game. That's when Bird Dog scouts. So there'd be 15 scouts at the game. And most of them, were for different organizations. But you remember what a Bird Dog scout was. The guy there were so many of them. And I thought they were out there to see Robin and see Larry out. Larry's Robin's brother played in the big league. There were a lot of great players. Rick Auerbach, what a shortstop he was. And, and Dempsey, what a catcher. And, just a bunch of guys like that. And so the draft come around, and I went on a surfing trip with my brother and my friend. And we were supposed to go up north, or down south, but we went up north. And, I had my little Volkswagen bus, and I'd been gone for about 3 days, and I get pulled over by a highway patrolman. And you can't go faster than 70 miles an hour in my bus. I said, "What's going on?" He goes, "Are you Pete LaCock?" And I said, "Yeah." And that's before cell phones. He goes, "You have an emergency at home. You need to call home." Yeah, so he said, "There's a payphone right down the road here." And I thought my mom died or my dad died. I call up, and my mom goes, "The Chicago Cubs have been calling you." And I said, "Well, why?" She said, "They drafted you." And I said, "Really?" And I didn't even know I'd been drafted. So it was just kind of different. It was funny.
That's amazing. Like, you didn't really care. You're going on a trip in your surfing bus, and you're a number one pick. And that was a time where, like 1970, that was, the draft was only going on for, I think, 5 years then, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So when you got that call and you go back home, now what are you thinking? Where do you go from there?
I sat there and I said, Chicago Cubs. I said, I don't know anything about the Cubs. And I remember Gene Hanley. Do you remember Gene Hanley, the scout for the Cubs?
No, I never heard of him.
Yeah, Gene Hanley was a West Coast scout, and I remember him coming over, and they gave me enough money to buy the new 911T. In 1970, the 911T came out, and I said, "You mean you're going to give me a bonus of this much, and even if I don't make the team, I get to keep this?" He goes, "Absolutely." And I remember that I signed. They gave me the check. I put it in the bank. I said, "When can I cash or when can I get the money?" He said, "In 2 days." And I remember going to the Porsche dealer and walking in with my little checkbook, and there it was. There was the car that I wanted, and they laughed at me. And then I went to Gabriel Olson, Merlin Olson, and Roman Gabriel had a Porsche dealership in the Valley, and I went to them, and they were really nice to me, and I bought it, and I took it back to the other place. Drove right into the parking lot. Said, "Hey, this is the thing at the car." That's a mistake, because they took one of my checks. I said, "Here, see if I have enough money to buy this." And they said, "We will." And I left.
God, man. Did you now? Your dad, Peter Marshall, the Hollywood Squares. Everyone knows who Peter Marshall. We grew up with him, and his last name was different. Was that bothersome to you?
Well, no. Yeah, it's okay. I'll tell you the story about that. My dad's sister. Do you know who my dad's sister is?
Yeah, Joanne Drew. Yeah.
Yes. Well, she was Joanne Marshall, and she was a Vogue model in New York. And then my dad's dad died when he was 12. And so my dad left West Virginia and went up to New York and went as Joanne Marshall's brother. And so he was 13 years old, and he was singing in nightclubs in New York. And that's really the way. And then when she became an actress, she flew to California to become an actress, and they said, "Your name's too long." And they named her Joanne Drew. That's how that came about.
Wow.
So
How about that? You got an aunt who's, in movies with John Wayne and Montgomery Clift. I mean,
Jimmy Stewart,
Peter Marshall.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was just like your dad being Ron Santo. I mean,
yeah.
And all these famous players and stuff. But you understand that he's just your dad.
Yep.
And my dad's friends were all famous. I mean, Sammy Davis Jr. was one of my dad's best friends, and he used to be at my house all the time. And it wasn't anything strange to see him. And Joey Bishop and all these guys. And I just thought of them as, man, my dad's friends. And they were pretty cool. They really were. And they were really nice to me. Oh, my God. I was really blessed.
You're right about that. When we grew up, that's all we knew. The Chicago Bears are over, Bobby Douglas, Cubs parties. It's just how we grew up. But you're growing up in Hollywood, though, with those movie stars and, Sammy Davis Jr. Come on. That's unbelievable. Now, did they know you were a baseball player and like, hey man, good luck. Good luck in the bigs. They must have loved that.
Oh, well, once I was playing baseball, yeah. But I was talking about when I'm 10, 11, 12 years old. But when I made it to the big leagues, they always would come to the ballpark. They'd call me, hey, you can get me tickets. I said, yeah, I get you tickets. And when I used to go to L.A., Jonathan Winters and all these comedians would come down in the locker room after the game was over, and the players would hang out for at least 30, 40 minutes listening to these guys tell jokes. Oh, and that was fun. That was fun. Was fun.
Did your dad was a singer, right, and an actor. Did he miss not doing that once he became the game show host?
Well, he was doing Broadway when he was doing Hollywood Squares. He would do 7 shows in New York, fly out Sunday night, and go to L.A. on Monday, or Burbank on Monday, film 5 shows that night, and then turn around and get on an airplane and hit the Tuesday show in New York. And at that time, I think he was doing Lacage. He did Lacage for about 4 years or something on Broadway in New York. So, people don't really know that he was a song and dance guy. I saw him in Music Man, Bye Bye Birdie. All kinds of great musicals. Wow. And my dad could sing and dance. He really could.
Could you sing and dance?
No, I could hit. That's all I could do. I could hit.
You could hit, man, and you could feel too.
I know. I was lucky.
You're talented, man.
Talking about fielding, I remember I was a right fielder, right? And I remember Andy Thornton got hurt, and they said, hey, can you play first base? And I said, man, I'm a great first baseman. I'd never played first base ever. I had to ask Pepitone for a glove. I said, Pepe, you got an extra glove I can use? And he worked with me every day. He was, I loved Pepe. But, what a talent. Oh my God, was he good.
Yeah. Pepitone, he was a talent. Yeah, he could have been one of the. If he really put his mind to it, don't you think? He had fun, but he was a great talent. When you got to the Cubs, now what was your minor leagues like? You went there pretty quick and got to the bigs in a couple of years. How old were you when you got there?
I was 19 my first year in the big leagues. Yeah. Well, I played AAA, and my last year in AAA, I won the Triple Crown. So, I was MVP in the American Association, so they'd have a hard time sending me back down, but I still had a couple of options left, so I didn't know what they were going to do.
You don't, man. But now, so you come to the Cubs, and towards the end of 70, you came up? What time did you come up there? And then you went 3 for 6 with 4 RBIs, so your first few games you're doing well.
Game. Yeah, against Wayne Twitchell. Sold home on a double still. That was awesome.
Oh, my God. Now, when you got to Wrigley, you said you didn't know much about the Cubs being from a California boy and not pay. So you didn't know much about the 69 team and all that?
No. I knew what had happened, because in 70 went spring training and there was a lot of tension. And I remember, the number 1 draft pick gets to go to spring training with the big club, and I remember I was there for about 2 weeks, ended up hitting about 370. I said, I got a chance to make this team. They sent me to AAA. And I did really well in AAA spring training. I said, I can make this club. They sent me to AA. And then the same thing happened in Double A. And then they sent me to Single A. And then they ended up going to the rookie league. So I didn't know what to think, to tell you the truth. So you know how baseball is.
Yeah. So when you got to the Cubs, I mean, in spring training, when's the first time you met my dad and some of the players? What was that like?
Well, Billy Williams broke his ankle. I don't know if you remember when he broke his ankle. They brought me up from Double A because I was, they needed a left-handed hitter. And I remember Sparky Davis. Remember Sparky Davis? You probably remember him. An old Cub. Yeah, he's an old. He coached in the minor leagues. I remember he didn't like me at all, but I remember saying, "Well, you're going to the big leagues." We were in Little Rock. He goes, "Here's a ticket. Your plane leaves at 6:00 in the morning, so you need to get a haircut and buy some clothes." And I said, "Okay, I can do that." And he gave me $500. I remember that, and I went, "Wow." So I remember getting on the airplane, going to Chicago, landing in O'Hara, and they gave me one of those the taxi vouchers. And I walked up with my Wichita Aero bag, and it was Double A. That's right. It was a Midland Cub bag, and and I remember the taxi guy goes. I said, "Wrigley Field, please." And he looked at me and he hands me the newspaper, and there I was, a picture of me in the sports section, on the Chicago Tribune. I'm going, whoa. And then I remember going to the Wrigley Field. I mean, if you've never been to Wrigley Field, I thought this guy was taking me for a ride. And all of a sudden he turns in front of the fire department. He goes, "See that door there?" He goes, "That's your door." And I said, "You kidding me?" And I remember going in there, and I remember going down the clubhouse. You remember the old clubhouse, and there was Yosh.
Oh God, yeah.
There was Yosh, and he gave me a bat. He says, "Here's one of your bats." And there was another one in my locker, and there's my uniform. I'm going, whoa. I remember getting dressed. He goes, "If you can get dressed fast enough, BP's in like 15 minutes. And I got dressed in 2 minutes. Went out that left field door, and I walked out there, and there were 30,000 people watching batting practice. And I was going, whoa, what is this? And every eye was on me. And I remember going down, going down to getting loose. And I remember standing in the left side there, and I said, "Mickey Mantle, Babe Ruth, they've all stood right here where I'm standing." It kind of freaked me out. And first pitch, I hit it out of the ballpark. And the fans went nuts. And I'm going, "Oh man, this is crazy." And that let's see that game. Milt Pappas threw 8 2/3 of perfect baseball, right?
Oh, that was the game.
Yeah, that was my first game there, and I was sitting there going, "Oh my God!" I was so nervous that they were going to ask me to go play right field or something. And I remember the 3-2 count, ball 4. Oh, everybody went nuts.
Right.
And I remember, and then and then the next day, Pat Corrales stands up and hits Monday right in the face of the first batter. They said something, and Krause stood up and just smoked him. Big fight, where I'm out there fighting. And I remember first two games of the big leagues at Wrigley Field. Shit, I was exhausted, and I didn't even play. So yeah, I mean, and plus the fans were just like unbelievable. They were just so nice. It's so nice to play at Wrigley Field. I mean, if you never experienced, it's a shame. Yeah, I mean, you know what it's like.
Oh, yeah, we lived. Do you remember me and Ronnie roaming around there?
Oh, yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I remember you guys. Yeah, it was fun. It was like a family setting, too. I mean, and everyone got along. You had Kessinger and Beckert, Pepitone, and Randy Hundley, and Callis and Hickman, Williams. I mean, what a great bunch of guys. I remember going to spring training, and someone walked. I forget who it was. I think it was Jim Hibbs. Walked up to me and said, "1952. My name is Sir." So they made they joked with me and made me feel good. So yeah, they made me feel like I was part of the team, especially when I got brought up.
That moment was brought to you by Tangent West, executive recruiters, headquartered in Denver, with offices in Vail, Colorado, and New Orleans. Since 1995, Tangent West has conducted executive searches nationally and internationally. They place C-level executives, management positions, high-level executive assistants, marketing and accounting, and finance. Cheryl Grimaldi, president, has personally interviewed over 36,000 candidates and has filled over 2,500 searches. I've known Cheryl for decades. She's a dear family friend and someone you can trust. She's been at this for a long time. Tangent West, hunting human excellence and building the country's finest companies since 1995, because nothing matters more than hiring the right people. If you're hiring, go to www.tangentwest.com.
Crackerjack.
This call is being recorded.
Hey, hello, it's Jeff.
Hey, Joey, how are you, man?
I'm good. How you doing, Jeff?
Good. What's happening today? I got you as you're my crackerjack on my podcast this week.
Really?
Yeah, you're the surprise, man. You're the surprise. So, hey, first question for you, Joey.
Yeah.
How often in your life do people come up to you and ask you what was it like to grow up the son of Ernie Banks?
It happens fairly often. It's usually when I'm either on the golf course when people have more time to sit down and talk with me or, have a moment with me. But then again, a lot of times they don't really understand the dynamics of it. That's why they're asking. So I tell them usually like it is. It's, it has a mixed bag of nuts there. Has its good and bad. You understand that your dad was very special to a lot of people. So if that's the case, you tolerate a little bit more than maybe what you normally would have done if you were just a boy and your dad was doing something with someone else.
Yeah, no doubt, man. No doubt. And the stories that you've heard over the years from your dad himself and then from other people who played with your dad, we've both heard so many stories, and they're great stories. And I know, tell me some of yours, man, because you got some gems.
Yeah, just the other day I was playing golf. I played with in a charity golf tournament last Monday with Daryl Jackson, pitched with the Twins, and he invited several major league players and some minor league players like myself and Darren Fleming, and Jim Campanis was in the group with Hubie Brooks and Blue Moon Odom, who won 3 national world championships with Oakland.
Absolutely.
And Campanis told me one day that Don Sutton happened to be facing my dad in the Cubs, and my dad ended up winning the game with a game winner at the end of the walk-off. And it was a doubleheader that day. And the second game, Don Sutton offered to pitch after 13 innings. They were running out of pitchers, and he said, I'm feeling pretty good. I think I can go back in. And the manager, probably was Walt Austin in the 60s there, said, sure, go ahead and, try and finish it out. And my dad hit another game winner off Sutton the same day.
Oh my God. Two home runs off the same guy to win both games.
Right.
Wow, man. That's amazing. It's amazing. A guy like a Hall of Famer like Don Sutton is, starts one game and then comes in to try to close out the second one. Right.
Yeah.
Wow. You don't see that today.
No, you will never see that again today. Right.
Oh God, man. Yeah. No, it's changed a lot, huh?
I could hear that conversation. Kershaw says to Robert, "Hey, I think I'm good. I can go back in."
Yeah, right. Yeah. He's in back icing the arm from game.
Yeah.
I don't even think they play 2 anymore. I mean, rarely if it's a rain out or something, and they do it later in the season. But yeah, I heard there was a story that the Cubs played 4 consecutive double hitters. I think in '68 it was 4 consecutive, and your dad and my dad played all freaking 8 games. And
Unheard of.
Is that unbelievable? 8 games. They're all playing 8 games. And I even think Randy played 7 of them as a catcher.
Amazing.
Isn't that amazing, man? I mean,
and then
wow.
the day games, and then throw in the day games and no ability to rest towards the, half a day and then go to the ballpark later, was huge. And I found out in fantasy camp from those morning meetings that just because you had a 1:00 game or a 1:30 game doesn't mean that you come every day at 10 o'clock in the morning. your time changed every day. So they had a chalkboard by the entrance to the clubhouse where, pitchers and catchers report this time, infielders report this time. So it changed. So you had to check the board before every game because it fluctuated.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. But I'm sure your dad and my dad got there the same time every day, right? It didn't matter to them.
Well,
right?
They had rituals, they had routines that, they stuck to. And sometimes those routines didn't work. And you may see my dad taking the CTA bus or the subway to the field one game because he had a good game and he figured he'd do it until he didn't have a good game.
And they didn't park in secure lots. Like my dad parked across the street at Vince's gas station, so the fans knew where your dad was or my dad was. And they were great with that. They'd walk with the fans to the park. And after the game, yeah, just a different atmosphere, man.
You could get close to players.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, man. And how about that clubhouse in the left field corner? How small that thing was.
That's a bandbox.
Yeah.
It was amazing how little they provided for not only the Cubs home team, but the visiting clubhouse was the worst in the National League. And that's a fact.
And you were the bat boy. You bat boyed on the visiting team. Tell me about that.
Yeah, we $5 a day. That was our pay, and we rotated the games. Who did the games? There was 5 bat boys. Some were designated for the day for the clubhouse, and others were, designated just for the game. We got to receive the equipment in the middle of the night because they would come in at 8 or 9 in the night, and the equipment didn't need to be in till say midnight. So we would stay the night to set the clubhouse up for the next morning. And that was always a treat to spend a night, set the clubhouse up for the guys the next morning. So when they came in, they just sat down.
Wow, man! Was that you and Jerry both did that?
Yeah, we both did that. That summer of '71, we think we were 11. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, Ronnie and I, we would do that in spring training, but we never did bat boy during the season. Yeah, but your structure, you and Jerry are twins. Who's older?
Jerry's older by 1 minute.
And at ball players, did Jerry play like you all the way through high school and college?
He stopped playing around his senior year. He started playing. We transferred from Judson High School to Coronado, and we both went from playing all these sports to just one sport. He played basketball, and I stayed with baseball.
Did you want to become a pro like your pops?
I did. I saw the lifestyle. I saw how much fun he had and how much joy he brought to people. And plus, I started becoming good at it because I had my brother. We were always playing catch, of course, and with you guys.
Yep, absolutely.
You and your brother. I really appreciate our time together out in the field together after the ball game. And, so that's where the groundwork was set, for playing.
It really was, man. And, your structure, tell me your family structure on that, Joey. You lived in Arizona, but you came to Chicago for the summer, right?
Yeah. In the beginning, we when he was playing, we stayed in Chicago for most of the year, for the summer, and then the winters. I think the last winter we were there, it was that bad winter in '69 or so, and then from then on, we pretty much stayed in Arizona the whole year. But up until the '69 or '70-ish, we went back and forth from St. Joseph's Military Academy to Judson, which was a private school in Paradise Valley there.
Our family life was always structured around baseball like yours. Baseball was everything. So when you were playing, I had the same dream too as you. It's like you grow up in it and that's all you really know, right? In that environment, you love it because that's your family too. Did your dad work with you to become a ball player?
Not often. But what he did was he spoke a lot of kind of Confucius comments to us and be smooth, not quick. Soft hands to field the ball, strong hands to hit. Catch the ball in front of you so you can see it earlier and get the best hop. But as far as drilling and, backhands and all that, no, he never did that. He wasn't that kind of a guy.
I think, my dad too. I think those guys are kind of, they're anomalies, right? They're the chosen ones, right? There's few of them. And when it comes to baseball, your dad and my dad, they were chosen ones. And I feel like, he let us play baseball. We were around baseball at times. So it's like, he knew we were picking up things left and right from all the players, right? And so to work with you, it was kind of it. I almost think that they kind of backed off because they said they knew that where they came from is a little different from where we came from, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
And I believe that they kind of let us find our own way, and during that, we were always around the game. So, and with you and your brother and me and my brother, we always have somebody to play catch with. So, I was always out there in the backyard throwing, and then early in life, we had that game in Chicago called Strikeout. So we played a lot of strikeout in a schoolyard, not stickball like New York, but we played a lot of strikeout, and we would come back when the street lights came on. We would come in the house.
Right. That same we played fast pitch all the time. We were always playing baseball, and just because it was our life. Now, when you played college ball, tell me about that.
Yeah, I went to Scottsdale Community College there in the 70s, 77, 79, and then 80, I transferred to USC as a junior and played there for 2 years. And so I played, with Rod Dato, Archie Vaughn, and Latchman, Renee Latchman, and Marcel Latchman, the Latchman brothers. Renee Latchman was pitching coach with the Trojans there, and Archie was the infield coach. And of course, Dato was Tiger. He called everybody Tiger because he didn't remember your last name, so he called everybody Tiger.
Now, you went in, you played minor league ball too, right?
Yes.
How far did you get?
Single A, high A with the Atlanta Braves.
When baseball was over, how did it end for you? What was that like? I mean,
well, that happened probably in '82, but then I got signed to play in Australia, so I played in Australia in Brisbane for one season, and then when I came back, they were shooting basically a TV show called Bay City Blues, which was a spinoff of Hill Street, Stephen Bochco Productions. And I got on that as one of the regular guys that they needed ball players at the time. And so I got on that as a regular ball player. I'd switch hit one episode, I'd bat lefty, and I was on the Bombers. And the next week I was had batting righty with, on the Giants. So I worked on every episode basically. In that TV show, and then I worked on Brewster's Millions in '84 there with Richard and John. They needed guys, and timing was right. And I went on an audition/tryout. They asked me if I'd acted before, and I said I act a fool every day. What do you need? And I got on as one of the guys with Gary Alexander played third, who was the Giants. Steve Benson played shortstop, who was Houston Astros. And then me with the Braves, and then Tom Paciorek, brother Mike, was the first baseman there in that show.
Oh wow!
Warner Paciorek.
So you went from the real thing to make believe, and that did that transition soften the blow? I mean, because no,
yeah, it did in a way, but your ultimate goal is to move to where your goal is. But being in the movie business, it's highly stressful. I mean, I got to tell you, to hit the ball to right field on cue it's pretty tough. If you haven't done it when the clapper goes, so does your butthole. So a lot of times, it's tough. It's not everybody's watching, and it's not as easy as you probably would think.
Right, and having the name too, they're watching you closely, man. Right,
Yeah. A lot of times, that kind of comes with the name, but I kind of dealt with that throughout my whole life. So. Yeah. It was really no different being in front of camera. But yeah, I've seen great players melt down to nothing when the camera roll.
Right. I made that same transition too. I worked on 8 Men Out and got a part in that movie, and I had to hit into a double play on cue, which I did, I think, in the second take, which wasn't so hard. I had to get a ground ball to second base, but that transition, man, from the real thing, because that's kind of when my career was over, and maybe it was a flimsy baseball dream, but you don't know that being who we are. You know what I mean? Because our dads were so good. You know what I mean? But it did hurt. I think, when did it really sink in that baseball wasn't gonna, that wasn't gonna be your future?
Well, that was the thing, that as soon as I got released, I got picked up again in Australia. So I played overseas for that season. And then when I came back, as soon as I came back, I went on this tryout. And before you know it, I'm running around, on camera. So I never really put it away. I just it just transferred into something else. And then in 88, we did Naked Gun, and I was tech advisor on Naked Gun. So I started running shows for baseball and tech advising. So I started hiring the talent and training the actors to be who they are, who they're supposed to be. And so yeah, it was kind of a seamless transition from being a player to a trainer / coach to being, a talent in some of these commercials and TV shows.
Wow, man. Yeah, exactly, man. And I feel like where we came from growing up, it's almost like that career was really the only career that we can transition to, right? To the 9 to 5 it's just we didn't grow up with that. It was more about a feeling of like, what are you going to do next after baseball that's going to have some of your childhood in it that means something, and that world was the world that both of us went into.
Yeah, I remember telling my dad I'm not sure how old I was, but I told him, Dad, I'm never going to wear a tie for a job. Yeah. I'm never going to wear a tie for a job. I want to be a player. And, ultimately, being a stunt guy and doing stunt work and learning stunt work, I did everything I could not to wear a tie and do 9 to 5. So it's been 41 years now, and I haven't put a tie on. And you also, it looks like.
Yeah, man. Once I went into storytelling, I knew storytelling was my thing. I went all in, man, all in. And it's not an easy road, as you know. It's a tough road. And you found your lot. You're a Teamster. You've been a Teamster for almost 3 decades, right? And that camaraderie has to be similar to our baseball upbringing.
It is. It's ironic that this department, although it's the strongest department, arguably in the industry, right. The Teamsters, it is like a captain and a coordinator. We have a coordinator's manager, and a captain would be like a third base coach. And when the third base coach gives you bunt sign, you bunt. You don't say, "Hey, time out. I want to talk this over." Just same thing in transportation. They tell you to move that trailer and take it to so-and-so location and set it up and power it up and get it ready for the talent to come into it. There's no like, can you give me a minute? Got a little bit of a headache and,
right.
Trying to work that out right now. So you do the best job you can as soon as you can. And it's somewhat like a military operation. And that's somewhat like the baseball team. We do everything together.
Yep.
Teamsters. So yeah, it was a seamless transition, and the camaraderie is there.
Yep.
You spend so many hours together with each other that you become very close in a short period of time. And sometimes there's players and Teamsters that you may not gel with. And there's that part of the dynamics of every team. So, my dad would be, kill him with kindness. He would say, and I'd ask him, what do I do? And he'd say, well, just try to get along and do the best you can, and help him when he needs help and let it be.
Yeah, great
he wasn't
advice.
Very confrontational. He wasn't very confrontational at all. He just didn't. He didn't argue about anything hardly at all.
Your dad was always so friendly, man. Always, every time you saw him, how's it going? You married? It was just always pleasant, man. And loved your dad, buddy. And I told you that story that your dad broke 2 bones in my hand at spring training. Ronnie and I were shagging fly balls, and Ronnie was catching everything. So I moved in. My dad would always say, stay out by the warning track, boys, And I came in, your dad was in the cage, hit a shot. I dove for it. It was like one of those things where a cannon, in a movie, just got put back, right? And I was down, and oh man, but I remember after I got the cast and everything, your dad came over and signed it, and I said, I was just like, I was almost proud, like, it came off the bat of Ernie.
Look who broke my hand.
Yeah, I think I'm the only kid out there that can say that. Hey, Ernie Banks, line drive right into his hand. Because back then we had those gloves. We were always using either a third glove of our dad's that was so worn in that he played, horrible. 5 seasons before.
Yeah, they were horrible.
The pockets were gone.
Oh yeah, and trust me, you're 8 years old out there, 9, catching line drives from grown men. It's you were pretty ambitious. I remember as a young man. Probably still are.
Well, you guys were older, man. I kind of followed you guys around, So
Yeah, we get yelled at first.
right. Exactly. We were kind of like the only kids out there, right? Because our dads had us so young, and
Yeah.
there weren't many kids besides us out there. Do you remember?
No, they didn't have Father's Day because they didn't have enough team put a team together.
Right.
We didn't have enough boys to put a team together.
Right, man.
We only had 5 girls.
Right.
So yeah, I don't remember. Maybe Hickman. I don't remember any other sons.
They were younger. Yeah, lot younger.
Yeah, I don't remember any other sons because my dad was a 13-year vet and in the 60s.
Right.
53 to 63. That was his peak years.
Yeah. So Joey, how's life today, man, for you?
Oh, it's great. We're going through the strike issue right now,
Yep.
like most of these departments. But
Yep.
besides that, everything was rolling good, before the shutdown for the strike here. I've been doing pretty well, doing the commercials now primarily instead of the TV work. I work on TV occasionally, but mostly commercials now.
Yeah. And you have a daughter and your wife. Talk about your family a little bit there.
Yeah, she's 34, my daughter, and I have 2 grandkids. And my wife, we've been together for probably 25 years now or so.
That's awesome.
And she understands this industry. And that's really special, as to have someone that can understand the ups and downs of this industry. And that's it's almost like a baseball. In fact, it is just like a baseball wife, meaning, you have your stretches where you're not going to go for, the month of June.
Yep.
And you need someone there to kind of be your sounding board and say it's going to be okay. And she's that woman, and that's why I married her. She used to go to all my games and be there for all the tryouts and all the auditions that I have for like 61. There was 300 guys on that job tryout, 300 for that movie 61.
Right.
So yeah, she was there for all that, and very supportive and picks up the slack when I get calls to go work out of town. And she's just an amazing woman. Got very lucky, as well as you.
Yeah, absolutely, man. My wife and I were riding partners, and we're out on the picket line for the WGA, and that's our life. And it's a beautiful thing, man. When you have that kind of partnership, it's really brought my life to another level these last 15 years. No doubt.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, they were very, very special women to deal with us. That's for sure.
Right. We're doing all right now, though, man. As far as
sir.
It takes a while to, but boy, that childhood, man, going back, I could still picture you and Jerry, man. Just
you too.
God.
Yeah, the clubhouses and the bubble gum and the chicken noodle soups and
the soups were great.
Hey, the Sano's pizzas.
Yeah,
we had the Sano's pizzas. Those were the post game meal sometimes.
Right.
Unbelievable.
Right,
bring down a box of those things.
God,
unbelievable. We would eat the hell out of those things.
Right, we sure would, man. Just, it was quite a childhood, man. And it's been a pleasure to know you for all these years, man, and to talk with you right now about that life. It means a lot, Joey. And the 4 of us have to get together here,
absolutely
soon. So let's do that, wherever,
Yeah.
So.
And we'll talk a little bit more about I have a project that I want to do, and I think you'll be perfect for doing it.
Right on, man. Love to talk about that. Absolutely, man. All right, Joey. Okay. Great having you, man.
You too.
All right. I'll talk to you soon, pal. Have a good day, man. Rest of the day.
You too.
All right, Joey. Take care, pal.
Bye.
Hope you enjoyed that episode. Get ready for part 2 of Pete LaCock and another great crackerjack surprise.
And remember, you can subscribe on Apple Podcasts and on Patreon. To get to our Patreon page, you can click the links below this episode or go over to our website, peanutspopcornandcrackerjacks.com.
And remember what Ernie Banks, Mr. Cubs, said. The riches of the game are in the thrills, not the money. And a special thanks to our 2 cool crackerjacks, Scott Nelson and Jim McCauley. We need some more cool crackerjacks. We can't even fill a pickleball court right now. So let's go for a baseball team, people. Let's become a cool crackerjack, and your name will be said after every episode. How about that? Thanks for listening and all the great support. Spread the word.
Toodaloo.
SantoFilms.com, the place to buy This Old Cub DVDs, posters, and This Old Cub t-shirts. Get yourself one now at SantoFilms.com.